All right, so imagine this. You're convinced. Darth Vader famously says, Luke, I am your father, right?
Oh yeah, classic line.
It's practically burned into our collective minds. But what if I told you the actual line in the film is, no, I am your father?
Huh. Yeah, that sounds wrong, doesn't it?
It does. That subtle shift might seem tiny, but for, well, a surprising number of people, it's genuinely unsettling.
It's not just like a simple misquote.
No,
Okay.
it's a prime example of something known as the Mandela effect.
That's right. And today we're diving into this phenomenon where a large group of people collectively remember something differently from how it actually exists, in current reality or history.
Like your memory is holding on to a version of events that just, well, it isn't there anymore.
Exactly.
And in this deep dive, our mission is to unpack exactly what the Mandela effect is, explore some of his most intriguing and, frankly, mind-bending examples from the sources you shared. Then, we'll dive into the fascinating theories attempting to explain it. These range from, cutting-edge science like quantum mechanics and CERN's particle collider experiments.
Right, the really high-tech stuff.
All the way to more speculative, maybe even spiritual interpretations.
Yeah, we'll be sifting through the material, extracting the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight, just trying to help you understand what might be happening, why so many people experience this collective memory shift.
And what the potential implications could be for, well, our understanding of reality.
Absolutely. And it's important to note, everything we'll discuss is drawn directly from that source material we looked at. We'll remain completely impartial in presenting all the different viewpoints.
Okay, let's really get into this. The Mandela effect, as many of you might know, gets its name from a striking discrepancy. Many people distinctly remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison back in the 1980s.
I've heard that one, yeah.
Yet, history now shows he was released, became president of South Africa, and passed away in 2013.
So the source material describes it as if, for some, two timelines have bridged together, leaving half the population remembering one past and the other half remembering another.
Wow, that's a powerful illustration. It doesn't just apply to historical figures, right?
Not at all. The effect extends deep into popular culture, creating this widespread confusion that really challenges our understanding of memory.
Right.
Well, take C-3PO from Star Wars, for instance. Many people vividly recall him as being entirely gold.
Yep, I think I do too. All gold.
But if you look at current versions of the original 1977 film, his left leg is silver.
Silver, really?
Yeah. And what's truly intriguing, our sources point out claims of an alleged 1977 internet photo showing him as completely gold, which, directly contrasts with historical records as they now stand.
Okay, that's weird. And back to Darth Vader. That Luke, I am your father line, it's just not there in the film. The movie now clearly says, no, I am your father.
Right.
But here's where it gets really fascinating, according to our sources. James Earl Jones, the actor who voiced Darth Vader.
The voice itself.
He himself remembered the line as, Luke, I am your father, in interviews years apart. He even apparently found it weird that he would misquote such an immortal line.
Wow. Okay, that certainly makes you pause, doesn't it?
It truly does. When the person most intimately involved with the material experiences the same discrepancy, it just adds another layer to the mystery.
And there are other classic film lines, too, that seem to have shifted. In Field of Dreams, many recall, if you build it, they will come.
They will come, yeah.
But the film now says, if you build it, he will come.
Just one.
Apparently. And for Snow White, the popular quote is, mirror, mirror on the wall.
Everyone knows that one.
But current versions state, magic mirror on the wall.
Magic mirror. And the iconic line from Jaws, we're going to need a bigger boat.
That's the one everyone quotes. But it has apparently become, you're going to need a bigger boat.
You're going to need,
And even the widely quoted, hello, Clarice, from Silence of the Lambs, the sources claim it no longer exists in any copy of the movie.
What? No. Hello, Clarice. That's impossible.
It's almost as if these lines have simply vanished from the timeline.
It's wild.
And perhaps one of the most frustrating for those experiencing it is the line from Forrest Gump.
Ah, the box of chocolates.
Exactly. The iconic quote many recall is, life is like a box of chocolates.
Life is, yep.
However, in the film as it exists today, Forrest says, life was like a box of chocolates.
Was. Past tense.
Past tense. Now, our sources do highlight that Forrest's mother actually says, life is a box of chocolates in a separate scene.
Okay, so it is in there somewhere.
Sort of. And a behind-the-scenes clip even shows Tom Hanks using the is version. Yet the movie's final audio, the famous line Forrest says on the bench, has was.
Hmm.
And this specific change, it's noted, causes a lot of frustration for those who remember it differently. You can see why.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's not just movie lines either, right? Even text itself seems to shift sometimes.
That's another category. Remember Interview with the Vampire?
Yeah, Anne Rice, great book, okay movie.
Many recall it with a lowercase the, but now it's apparently Interview with the Vampire, capital T.
Okay, small detail, but still weird if you remembered the other way.
Or Sex in the City.
In the City. It's now Sex in the City.
And the City, okay. And here's one for those of us who grew up in the 80s. The beloved Berenstain Bears.
Oh, the Bears, yeah.
A vast number of people distinctly remember it being spelled Berenstain, with an A.
Berenstain. Sounds right to me.
But it's currently known as Berenstain Bears, with an E.
Berenstain.
Really?
Yep. So if your memory of Berenstain Bears is spelled with an A, you're definitely not alone.
Wow. Okay. Beyond text, the Mandela effect also touches what we see and remember about characters and even our physical world.
How so?
Many people remember Curious George having a tail.
The monkey. Yeah, I think he had a tail, didn't he?
History now claims he never did, never had one.
But he's a monkey.
I know. And apparently, costume makers have historically included one.
Okay, that's baffling. What else?
Well, for those with a religious background, you know the images from the Bible, often depicting a lion living with lambs, based on Isaiah 11.6.
The lion shall lie down with the lamb, yeah. Peaceable kingdom.
Well, that passage now reads, "The wolf shall live with the lambs."
Wolf, not lion.
Wolf. And the curious thing is that pictures of the lion and lamb still circulate everywhere, despite, no passage supporting it in the current Bible.
Okay, these examples truly highlight how the Mandela effect touches our personal memories of pop culture history. But it extends even further, doesn't it? Challenging our perception of the very world around us.
All right, like what about geographic realities?
Geography changes.
Our sources detail claims that many recall a large New Zealand-sized landmass off the western coast of Australia.
Wait, a whole landmass? Gone.
People swear it was there even though no one can seem to recall its name. And apparently in the 1990s movie Dazed and Confused, a globe supposedly shows this very large landmass exactly where people remember it.
Okay, I need to rewatch that movie now.
And adding a strange layer to this, the island's supposed location was notably near the search area for Flight MH17.
Whoa, that's eerie.
And this isn't an isolated incident. There's the documented case of Sandy Island.
Tahiti Island.
Yeah, it was once recorded on maps, cited by ships, but has now, as the source puts it, vanished from the planet.
It's gone. Poof.
Seems like it. Then there's the truly bizarre 1954 case of the man from Tord.
Okay, what's that?
A man reportedly arrived at Tokyo airport claiming to be from a country called Tord.
Tord. Never heard of it.
Exactly, it doesn't exist. But he had, apparently, valid documents, passport stamped and everything from this non-existent country. Then he mysteriously vanished from police custody the next morning.
Vanished.
How?
Nobody knows. Just gone.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot to wrap your head around. Curiously, for those who experience these memory shifts, there's even a reported link to tinnitus, ringing in the ears.
Yeah, this connection was apparently observed within a Facebook group for Mandela effect sufferers.
Yeah.
Just another strange correlation reported in the sources. So whether it's misremembered movie lines, shifting geography, or even a strange physical symptom like tinnitus, these personal experiences inevitably lead us to much bigger questions.
Definitely. Are these simply shared misrememberings, mass confabulation on a huge scale?
Or is something else entirely at play, perhaps at the very edges of our understanding of reality?
And these questions naturally lead us to some of the most cutting-edge scientific concepts being explored today.
Like quantum computing.
Exactly. One potential scientific lens through which to view the Mandela effect comes from the theoretical basis of quantum computing.
Right, these super powerful computers we hear about.
Yeah, tens of thousands of brilliant minds are currently working on these machines, which can solve problems you could never ever solve with conventional computers, even, hypothetically, using every single atom of silicon in the world for a normal computer.
So they're not just faster, they're different.
Fundamentally different. The analogy given in the source is that a plane is not a faster horse.
Ah, okay. A plane accesses a new resource flight, a whole new dimension.
Precisely. These quantum computers are fundamentally different machines, accessing new resources that conventional computers simply can't reach.
And what's truly fascinating here isn't just the sheer power, but how its very theoretical foundation, the many worlds interpretation, offers this radical lens to view reality, right?
Exactly. The source mentions the physics zealot view that quantum mechanics, our most successful theory of nature, actually predicts an enormous, mind-bogglingly large number of parallel realities as real as this one,
Parallel realities, like infinite versions of us.
with different consistent histories. Everything from, microscopic particle decisions to what you had for lunch today, creating a different branch.
Wow.
And the intriguing claim is that quantum computers are perhaps the most exciting of all of these that we have within or almost within our grasp right now, because they can potentially exploit those other worlds.
Exploit other worlds.
Yeah.
So if these quantum computers are truly accessing new dimensions of information, what does that practically mean for our reality?
Yeah, how could this theoretical ability manifest in something as, well, tangible as a collective memory shift?
And what do these things even look like? Are they just big computers?
Well, physically, our sources describe them as giant black monoliths, maybe 10 feet on a side, 12 feet tall.
Like 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Kind of sounds like it. And cooled to hundreds of times colder than interstellar space. They even apparently have a heartbeat sound.
Whoa.
Inside, there's a tiny chip with qubits, quantum bits.
Qubits, right?
A qubit is unique because it can exist in two mutually exclusive states at the same time. It can be both on and off simultaneously.
Quantum weirdness.
Exactly. And this unique property, according to the theory presented, creates a kind of overlap, a nexus, a point where our reality and these parallel universes might connect, allowing for potential interaction.
And the scaling is incredible, isn't it? Each qubit doubles the number of accessible parallel universes.
That's the idea. So a 500 qubit chip, well, that means it's potentially tapping into 2 to the 500th power of these parallel realities.
That's just an unimaginably vast number. My brain hurts thinking about it.
Mine too. The analogy offered is that the shadows of these parallel worlds overlap with ours, and if we're smart enough, we can dive into them and grab their resources and pull them back into ours to make an effect in our world.
Grabbing resources from parallel worlds. Okay, that's a big leap.
It is. But this isn't some distant theoretical future, apparently. The progress is rapid. There's a Moore's law for qubits, their number doubling yearly for 9 years straight, according to the source.
Doubling every year.
Yeah, and a massive speed increase reported almost 500,000 times faster in just one generation of chips.
It's accelerating incredibly fast.
And the creator of one of these quantum computers even made some pretty striking predictions based on this.
Oh yeah? What were they?
Well, the first prediction for within 5 years is that NASA will find an Earth-like planet with an atmosphere and water helped by these quantum computers.
Finding Earth 2.0, basically.
Okay. The second prediction for soon is that the business of parallel universes is going to turn out to be very important.
The business of parallel universes, like an industry.
Seems like it. And that an experiment will come up to actually test their reality using a gravitational lens as an analogy. Like how gravity bends light. Maybe we can find a way to detect effects from these other realities.
Detecting parallel universes. Yeah. And the third prediction.
This one's maybe the most profound. Within 15 years, humanity will experience its most important technological societal revelation. Machines will outpace humans in every respect.
The singularity, basically.
That's what it sounds like. And this apparently is the focus for NASA and Google using these machines.
Wow.
So, considering all this, the existence of these parallel realities, potentially accessible through quantum computing, it could theoretically provide a framework, however strange, to explain shifts in collective memory or historical discrepancies if these shifts are truly indicative of reality itself altering.
It's a mind-bending possibility for sure. Okay, so from the quantum realm and parallel worlds, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about CERN and the Large Hadron Collider.
Right, the giant particle accelerator in Switzerland.
Its main purpose, scientifically speaking, is to find the glue that holds everything together, right? By looking at particles right after high-energy collisions.
Yeah, examining them in their initial sort of liquid state before they bond, by colliding protons at near light speed.
And part of what CERN is studying and even producing is antimatter.
That's right. Antimatter was first generated, or at least positrons were, back in 1955. It's described in the source as the opposite of matter.
And it's inherently unstable and incredibly destructive.
Hugely. The source mentions that even 1 gram annihilating with matter would be like 4 Hiroshima bombs.
Wow. Okay, so it requires massive, very expensive containment facilities.
Absolutely. And the source claims containment failures can cause megaquakes.
Megaquakes, yikes. So they're not just looking for basic particles, they're creating these incredibly powerful, volatile substances.
And they're looking beyond the standard model of physics. Our current best explanation for particles like quarks, leptons, force carriers like photons and gluons.
They want a deeper explanation.
Right, seeking a higher explanation. They've already found traces of the Higgs field, which the source claims can alter reality.
Alter reality. Okay, that connects back. Now, moving beyond CERN's stated scientific goals, our sources get into some, well, truly astonishing and quite speculative claims.
Yeah, this is where the material links CERN's work to paranormal and even spiritual dimensions.
Also,
For instance, there's a claim cited from a group supposedly studying paranormal activity since the 1800s.
okay.
They reportedly defined dimensional slips, ways things from other realities could interact with ours, and they claim that antimatter is somehow absorbed by paranormal activity,
Absorbed.
and that it attracts what they call demonic entities from another dimension.
Okay, that's quite a leap from particle physics to demonic entities and dark energy signatures.
Yeah.
How exactly are these claims framed in the source material? Is it presented as scientific finding or more interpretation?
The source presents these quite directly as consequences or connections being drawn by certain groups or individuals. It's definitely weaving together scientific concepts with these more esoteric or spiritual interpretations.
Right.
It also claims CERN will allow humanity to produce pounds of antimatter efficiently maybe in a week, instead of the 10,000 years it might take now, which would be a monumental shift.
Pounds of antimatter.
And the impact on the human psyche is presented as directly linked to this potential increase in production.
How? What's the alleged link?
The source claims antimatter has an energy signature intimately tied to every single life form on this planet.
Intimately tied.
Yeah. It says all life forms have both dark, which it equates with antimatter energy, and light matter energy, and that human emotional states and thoughts determine which energy they draw from.
Okay, so our thoughts affect its energy balance.
According to this view, yes. And the disturbing consequence alleged is that when antimatter is produced in greater numbers by CERN, the dark energy signature within people will activate more strongly.
Leading to
Difficulty in self-control, increased violence, vivid dreams, nightmares, and vile things.
That's alarming.
The source even recounts an anecdote about a college where some dark matter, or perhaps antimatter, the terms seem used interchangeably here, was kept, causing negative effects on people nearby, forcing its relocation to an underground facility.
And there are even claims about weaponization.
Yes, claims that this dark matter has been weaponized to cause chaos in specific places. There's a first-hand account mention of a mild weapon causing intense negative emotions, irritation, fear, anger, hatred, which could only be overcome by extreme focus.
Wow. And there's this concept of a wall or veil.
Right. A wall or veil that supposedly holds this dark energy away from our realm because the two meeting would be absolutely destructive.
And CERN is trying to break through it.
The source claims CERN is looking for particles in this wall, potentially to undo it. And then it makes a very specific theological claim.
Which is?
It explicitly states that this wall, which holds dark energy away from our realm, is unqualified belief in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Okay, so that explicitly weaves scientific exploration into a very specific religious framework.
Very much so. It highlights how some interpretations are attempting to synthesize these ideas.
And this isn't just CERN, right? The source mentions other facilities.
It states there are 14 particle accelerators worldwide, that all countries are vested in the CERN facility, and there are 3 in the United States, including one supposedly operational in a biggest state, presumably Texas, but it's not explicit.
Okay. And finally, there's this controversial image presented as proof.
Yeah, what the source describes as rock-solid proof. It's an image apparently showing a CERN employee holding signs that say Bond 1 and Mandela.
Bond 1.
The source claims this spells Nelson Mandela, perhaps referencing the Bond movie franchise's numbering or something. They heavily imply this is proof that CERN knew about the Mandela effect in advance.
And is somehow responsible.
And is laughing about it and deliberately ripping apart the fabric of time and space. That's the strong implication made.
That's a very strong accusation based on an ambiguous photo.
It is. And on a different, somewhat unexpected note, the source also brings up Stephen Hawking.
Hawking? What about him?
It claims that Hawking, who did not believe there was a God for a long time, was supposedly changing his mind later in life.
Oh, why?
Due to the absolute precision of the universe, he was apparently beginning to entertain the idea of a divine architect.
Interesting claim.
Yeah. So, look, regardless of whether one believes these more extreme claims presented in the sources, the dimensional slips, the entities, the wall, the CERN conspiracy,
Which are definitely out there.
the Mandela effect itself remains a baffling phenomenon for many people. It prompts these really profound questions about memory, perception, and the very nature of reality.
And the scientific exploration happening at places like CERN and with quantum computing certainly delves into the deepest questions about the fabric of reality itself, even without the added layers of speculation.
Absolutely.
So wow, we've journeyed from the unsettling personal experience of misremembered movie lines and, vanished islands
Right, the things that make you personally go, wait a minute.
through the really mind-bending possibilities of quantum computing and the potential existence of parallel universes.
Uh-huh.
Then we plunge into the profound and at times pretty unsettling claims connecting CERN, antimatter, and the very fabric of our reality. Even delving into theories about how these forces might interact with the human psyche and, well, spiritual dimensions.
It's been quite a ride through different layers of explanation. So here's a final thought to leave you with, drawing from some of these threads. If our perceptions can shape our personal energy, as one theory suggested,
Right, the light-dark energy idea.
and if the physical world might be more fluid, more changeable than we typically assume, as quantum physics and maybe even the Mandela effect itself hint,
Yeah.
what does that truly mean for concepts like truth and reality in an age where the boundaries of what we understand are constantly being pushed?
What might be the real glue holding everything together?
And perhaps more importantly, what role do our consciousness, our beliefs, our collective memory play in its stability or perhaps its fluidity?
That's definitely something to ponder. We invite you to reflect on your own memories, maybe double-check some of those facts you thought you knew for sure,
You might be surprised.
and just, ponder the implications of these cutting-edge scientific endeavors and the truly expansive, sometimes strange theories surrounding them.